Hey everybody, Gary Semix back at you again here. Today with this tip I want to talk about your back. Of course that's very important to keep a healthy, strong back, and barring any serious injuries of screwing yourself into the ground, just riding should be healthy for your back if you're riding properly. Now I gotta admit, back in the old days it was a little bit different, and in my first DVDs I even teach having a crouched back while you're riding, both standing and sitting. And the guys that had the real straight backs, you know, they were like pit squids. It's like, man, look at that guy. You know, it was just the style to ride those older bikes was to have more of a crouched back. And I think the biggest reason for that is you had to ride the back of the bike a lot more to keep it straight. Nowadays you can ride up over the front of the bike so much more. Of course, the handling and everything is so much better. So those things have changed over the years. If you're still riding a vintage bike though, keep the crouch back. But nowadays on the modern bikes, it's better to have a straight back. And I gotta admit, that old habit is really ingrained into me deep. And if I don't think about it and practice it enough, you know, I get back to riding with the crouch back a lot more. It might be an exception in some of the corners that are slippery with no berm. If you want to get your center of gravity lower, you know, you could crouch your back a little bit. But with the handling of today's bikes, the straight back is definitely the way to go. So much more strength, and it's a lot healthier for your back. So it's simple as that, you know, instead of rotating your hips under you and crouching your back, you keep your butt sticking out and your back straight. And that's in your range of motion, through your range of motion. And when you're standing, you know, it's the same thing. Back straight through that range of motion. Even when you crouch back, you know, keep your back straight versus going like this, but keeping the back straight. And it's something that you got to practice to get used to. You know, if you haven't ingrained the bad habit of being crouched all the time, it should be pretty easy. You just have to stay mindful of it while you're riding. Slow down a little bit so you can really focus on that at first and just get used to that feeling of keeping your back straight. You look at some of the top guys today, Villapoto, Stewart, and I'd say Stewart and Blake Baggett are probably the guys that have the most straight back most all the time. McGrath had that pretty good too, even back in his day. So it's like anything, man. To get good at it, you got to practice it. If you want all the body positions and movement techniques, and there is a lot of them, we're just touching on one here. Get my Volume 3 DVD number 1, Body Positions and Movements. Find out how you can work with the bike and not use up all that excess energy fighting the bike, but work with it and be smooth. Check back with me next week. I should have another tip up for you. Until then, ride hard, but ride smart.